Welcome to Maine Zone. I am Jermaine, and thank you for tuning to my podcast. Wherever you are, however you're listening, I appreciate it. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, watch it on YouTube. Keep liking, keep subscribing, keep sharing. Thank you for helping me grow this platform. Now, NBA playoffs full scale. Things are rolling in NBA playoffs, but we're not going to talk about that today. Today's a special weekend. Every year, the same weekend of May is Mother's Day. So, in this episode, I actually interview my mom and just get some insights of motherhood from her and her life journey and things like that. Before I share the interview with all of you, I just want to give a shout out to all the moms out there. We'll start with my mom, phenomenal, phenomenal woman, as you'll see or listen to in the interview, and then also, big shout out to my wife. I mean, the woman she is, it's kind of difficult to describe how great she is for me and for my family. The compassion she has, the selflessness that she has that I don't believe a lot of people have anymore. The Just to love her family and love her children to the utmost being of her. I'm just thankful and blessed to have married you and share this life journey. And just thank you and happy Mother's Day to you. And also to my mother-in-law. Awesome, fantastic. I mean, they actually live around the corner from us. So I rib her a little bit about a lot of things, but just an awesome mom, awesome example. Then, my sister, happy Mother's Day to you. Keep doing your thing. Keep raising your son in the right way. My sister-in-law, Hanan, who had just had a new baby. A big shout out. Keep being a great mom. You got this. You got your little girl now. As my brother says it, we talk about me and him. We got like a senator's family. We got the boy and the girl. I even have the dog. So, and then for all the other moms out there that have played a role in my life, um, in different times of my life. There's so many, too many to count. I'll just do a few. Miss Cherry Wright, from high school all the way to my mid 20s, was a guiding light for me in so many spaces and decisions I had to make. And then um, met her I met this particular mom in a not an awkward setting, but it was like I did something wrong in meeting this mom. That's Joanne Bushner, who became again like a guiding light to me and gave me so much wisdom when I lived in Huntsville. And then to all my friends in Huntsville and California and Texas and all the moms out there, hey, big ups to you. Keep being a great mother. Keep raising your kids. Keep pushing forward. We salute you to the utmost degree. Thank you again. And so the rest of this podcast will be my interview with my mom. So I hope you enjoy. It's my first actual interview. I always want to do my mom first. We did it a few months ago, but we didn't like how it came across. So we did it. We shot it again, and I hope you enjoy. She gives a lot of interesting answers and just shares her life journey. So enjoy that. And then, as always, be blessed. The next piece of this podcast you'll hear will be that of the interview with my mom. Happy Mother's Day, mothers out there. Bye bye.
Throw something at me, son.
Sorry, I started off by laughing. It's my first interview, so I got a little nervous. But you know what? My first interview is going to be with my mother, Miss Lisa Clark, extraordinary woman. Fun time because it's actually a Mother's Day weekend. So this will be a fun little chat that we're about to have about her life, our lives, choices, decisions, and then what the future holds. So I hope you all enjoy this. It's my mom who, for one thing, I know likes to share, and I probably got the craze to like to talk from her. So she's gonna lead us tonight as we discuss the life and times of one California, Lisa Clark. All right, Mom, what's up? Happy early
Hey,
Mother's Day. Early Mother's Day
thank
to
you,
you, all the
son.
mothers, but especially to you as we're gonna do this podcast. It is, like I just said, it is my first one to interview someone. So none of it my mom, who I hold great respect for, of course, love dearly, has been my guiding light through most of my life. So let's get started. Where you from? Tell me a little about yourself. Tell the people about yourself.
Well, first, how are you, son?
Um,
Anyway, I'm so excited to be on your podcast. I've been waiting all afternoon to do this. So, but anyway, sorry, my phone is moving. Um, well, I was born in Glendale, California, and came to let's see. Okay, so I was born in Glendale, California, lived there till I was about 9. From there, moved to Oklahoma for about 18 months, and from there to Keene, Texas.
Keene. So how do you like
Keene,
Keene?
Texas.
Tell us about Keene.
Well, um, I've gotten used to it by now, but it took a long time. I just never really, called it home. It was kind of like God forsaken when I moved here. I kind of felt that way. Little tiny town. Um, so it wasn't something that I was excited about. There was nothing here, nothing. We had nothing here to do. So for kids to, be able to do something, there was nothing here. And you had to go for, 2, 3 hours to get anywhere. So it wasn't exciting like growing up in California. So we did travel back from here to California and up the coast to Oregon and Washington, and then back home. So we would do that throughout in the summertime, and that was good. That was good for about 2, 3 weeks. We would do that for our vacation. But outside of that, I've learned to. I know I was thankful to raise my children in Keene because a majority of that I did by myself. But it took me time now to adjust to the quietness of coming here because I'm more city.
Right, right.
I like the
And then
city.
and then for those that don't know, Keene, like growing up there, I mean, you have to like find trouble. You want to get in some real trouble. You have to really, I mean, I think a couple months ago, they had a shooting there. And then prior to that was probably like 100 years ago. So it's a real small, quiet town, predominant Seventh Day Adventist town that you can, good place to raise kids. But then as the kids venture out, it's a boring place to live. Yeah, you're right. It's pretty boring, but it's a safe haven um, for most people to have time to live. Okay, so that's moving to Keene, and then you go into venture into adulthood. So we'll get into all that here in a second, as we're gonna, as I said months ago, when I want to know, like everybody has impactful moments in our lives. So if you're done sharing like your life journey story, then we'll hop into the impactful moments. But if you're not done sharing, continue to share. Like you moved to Keene, it's kind of boring. You've adjusted to it. You'd rather live in the city. You probably in your mind have this nice apartment where you can walk to get your food and walk to the park and all that, but you're still in Keene.
Yeah.
So what
Mhm.
else do you want to share? Anything else before we hop into our questions for this evening?
Well, when you were saying impactful moments in my life, there are so many. And probably my very first impactful moment in my life was to find out that I was adopted. So that was, that just took me on a whole nother journey from a very young age.
Hmm. Hmm.
And moving forward from that impactful moment at that time was the birth of you. And I was very young when that happened. So I was a very young mom and by myself, basically.
So
Yes,
let's back up before we get to that. Let's first dive into the adoption. Like, um, how old were you when you found out that you were
I
adopted?
was 7. I was 7,
And you were
and
adopted at birth.
I was adopted at birth. I was born January 4, and I was moved. My parents, my adopted parents, which have been my parents my whole
Mhm.
life, they took me home on the 9th. And so I was with them, ever since. So that's all I knew. So when I was told that I was adopted when I was 7 by my brother that was very upset with me, it was devastating to hear that he was telling me that's not your mom when I said I was going to go tell on him for he was bothering me, whatever was going on. And I just said, I'm going to go tell my mom on you. And that's when he told me. That's when he
And
told me.
and so
She's That's
then,
not your mom. That's not your mom.
oh wow. So then after that, did your mom and dad explain it to you, or did they kind of
They
like
did.
brush it under the rug?
No, no, no. They tried in their own way.
Hmm.
They tried to explain because they were. That's not how they wanted to share
Of course
that
not.
information with
Right.
me. They were just trying to find the right time.
Hmm.
And back then, because that's in the 60s, you're not, you just, you would adopt a child. They don't take you through a whole lot of classes. There was an assessment for 9 months for me where a social worker came in, talked to my parents, saw how they were caring over me. Um, so that did go on, but at the same time it's not like you have what you have today where it's open adoption. The children are back and forth with their biological parents, or pictures are sent back and forth, whatever the case may be. But for me it wasn't like that. So my parents were just kind of like, once they took me home, they were just going to try to figure out in time. They thought, well, there's a large window here. Well, I'm 7 then, because you're not thinking, okay, well, 2, 3, they're not going to understand, 4, 5. Well, then I get to 7. And as you well know, you have children, you know how bright Jermaine is at 5 about a conversation, or Leilani completely at 8. So imagine Leilani at 7 and you share something like that with her.
Right. Right. I mean,
So,
probably. I mean, every emotion you could think of running through you, which is like shock,
no, absolutely.
frustration,
Absolutely.
not betrayal, not necessarily, but more like, wow, like, good lord, how?
No, it was more like, okay, what I'll do is I know she's gonna come and pick me up, and I'll come back and see you when I can.
That's what you told your adopted parents.
Basically, there was a moment, son, that I sat outside on a curb and my mother could see me through our window. In Southern California, you have your windows raised all the time because the nice air, the breeze, it's a beautiful climate. And she had the window up and she was sewing, and she spoke to me. I was sitting out on the curb, and she asked me what I was doing. Lisa Joan, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm just sitting here waiting on my mom, but I'll always come back and see you.
And I mean, what was her response? I mean, her feelings, I mean, here's someone that clearly, you know, went through the process of adoption, so they wanted you a part of their home. But so
Mhm.
how did she feel, do you think?
I think, looking back and having conversations with her when I got older about
Mhm.
that time in my life, it was painful to hear for her, but of course she didn't address that to me, nor did I even think of it being painful. I
Of
just
course
thought,
not.
no,
She's telling
not
you,
at
well,
all.
the funny thing about kids is they're so honest.
Right.
So
And
you
that's what
just
happened.
like, hey, what are you doing? I'm waiting on my mom. Like,
Right.
it's not
Exactly.
evil. It's just
That's
like,
exactly.
hey, you asked, I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm actually just waiting on my
Well,
mom to come
yeah,
pick me up.
yeah.
So
I didn't even think anything of it, whether it was true, right or wrong, or hurtful or anything. It was just what I said. Like, I'll come back. I'll come back and
yeah,
see you
right,
all the time.
right. So not to get ahead of ourselves with other moments of your life, but were you able to meet your parents, or both? Were you able to meet your parents? How was that?
Yes.
How was that experience for those that it might have been? You say, for those listening that might be either searching for their parents, that if they were adopted, or if they have met their parents, but they haven't had a space to where they can actually find some, let's say, closure. Have you been able to? Um, were you able to speak with them and spend some time with them?
Right. No, I was able to. And let me just kind of backpedal here for a
Hmm.
minute. It
Hmm.
was my driving force, son, in
Hmm.
my life, even at 7. When you listen to people's documentaries and they have a question asked, when did you think you knew that you wanted to play a particular sport or whatever? You hear their answer and it could be 5, 6, 7. That's absolutely true, because my force behind everything was that I was going to find my family. That is what I search for going forward all the time, whether it's in my mind, whether it's when I went to bed at night and reading a book, or writing something down on a piece of paper, and I would write something to her. I can remember all those things. I can
Hmm.
remember that I would literally go to my mother's safe when she was writing out bills or whatever, and I would go and see the adoption papers because they showed them to me, and I would go and I would look at them, and then when I got old enough to read them, I'd be reading them. It was just a force behind that. I knew that I was going to find this woman.
Right.
I needed
Right.
to find my what I considered at that time my real mother.
Right.
I need to go find my real mother. It wasn't till later on my life as I matured and everything that she was my birth mother.
Right.
But me as a child, she was my real mother.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
I
would ask
understand.
my mom, which is my adopted mother, but my mom, that's my
Mhm.
mom to me. I would ask her, just tell me about her. Tell me what she looked like. And I'd ask
Oh,
her
go
just
ahead.
so, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I would ask her just like Leilani would come and ask you a question. I would
Mhm.
ask her, not thinking that am I hurting her feelings? I never thought that.
Mhm.
Not until I got older in life that I can actually think back and think, okay, did my mom go through so much pain in thinking I never loved her? But so, as answering the question, I did get the opportunity, did come from, did happen for me to be able to meet my biological mother. My father tried to find her when he left here in 1983 from Keene. He went back to California in 1983, and he tried to locate her then. And he came back to share with me that it's like a needle in a haystack. You're not going to be able to find her.
Oh wow.
And so I had the opportunity to go with a girlfriend of mine. I had one way out from Keene, Texas to go to La Sierra, California, and no way back. I had $4 to my name. I was able to leave you and Noah with a family friend,
Mhm.
and I headed out to California
What
because
year
it
was
was
that?
I had that drive. I knew that I tried my best to be back in a week, and I had everything set up. And so I left with my girlfriend. We got to California. Took us like 2 days. We got to California. I'd not been there in 11 years and had not seen the girlfriend that I stayed with in 11 years. And we were elementary school girlfriends, grammar school girlfriends. Our parents were best of friends. So it was like just going back to family. So the following day, her sister brought me 2 phone directories, and which was one was the Los Angeles phone directory, and the other was Glendale. And I decided to start with Glendale because I was born in Glendale, California. So I decided to go with Glendale first. And the 7th person in my birth last name was a great aunt of mine, but at that time we don't know that.
Right. Right.
But she did let me know that the person let she said, let me let you speak to my husband. He'll know more about who you're looking for. And when I got on the phone with him, he said, you're looking for, her name. And he said, you're looking for, well, it's Maggie. He said, you're looking for Maggie. We call her name's Marguerite, but we call her Maggie. But let me to my sister because she knows more about her whereabouts than I do. And so within a window of like 10 minutes, because the seventh person on this directory of the name, they spoke English, but you could tell they were totally, it was an accent and everything. And it just hit me at that moment like, wow, wow,
I'm next.
this is my family? Are you kidding me? So when the when the when the sister to would be my great uncle, so the sister, when she contacted me back, when I contacted her and shared with her who I was looking for, she said, let me go ahead and look for some numbers and I'll call you back in 10 minutes. And when she called back in 10 minutes, she had not only the number to my birth mother, but she had the number to my birth sisters. There was
Now,
three of them.
now was she very like open and receptive to helping, or is it kind of like a little
She
pushback?
didn't know at that time. She didn't
So
know
you
at
didn't
that
tell her who
time.
you were.
No, I didn't tell her who I was at that
Oh,
time.
okay.
I contacted her back after she gave me those numbers. And so the story gets really, uh, it's just a lot.
Hmm.
But I was able to contact her back, and she said, I knew it. I knew that your mother had a child. We knew that.
Mm.
So it
Mm.
was opened up a big can of worms, son.
Mhm.
It opened up, and my biological mother was so worried of who told me, how did I get the information? How could I have found her? And she wanted so much to know who shared that information. And
Oh,
so of course I wouldn't give her that information. And I did meet her the following day after we spoke on the phone. Well, she denied me. And then she called me at 6 a.m. in the morning. And there's a lot of details in between that as well.
mhm.
But she notified me at 6 a.m. in the morning at my girlfriend's home. And she asked me who I was. And I said, you tell me who I am. And this is exactly what she said. She said, you were born January 4, 1961, and you were adopted to Ken and Mary Brown.
Just threw out your age for everybody listening.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
wow. I said you threw out your age for everybody listening.
Oh, I don't
But
care. Fine.
but wow. So then
Yeah.
you met and spent what, about a couple
And
hours
I
talking
said,
to her?
that's who I am. I said,
Hmm.
that's who I am. And
Was
she
she
said, what?
excited, or was it more like a
No,
stressful moment?
she was not excited, son. And she wanted to know, what did you want? What do I want?
Mm.
And I kind of like,
Like, I just want to meet you. Like,
it's kind of like how Whitney said, you better lay low. But you know, that's about how I wanted to say to her. But I just said, listen, there's not anything that I want from you. I have my own fortune and fame. It's exactly what I said to her. I have my own fortune and fame. Had
did you at the
nothing,
time?
but I had my children. I gave my last $4 to go out to the state of California to some kids that were trying to get back to Fort Worth.
Oh man.
In the Mojave Desert, son, in the Mojave Desert. So that's what I had going on. But anyway, she didn't have to know that, and I
Your
didn't look that
fortune
way.
and
I
fame.
had my own fortune and fame. So I definitely am not but I did say, I told her, I said, I needed to know why.
Mm.
And I have come to find out why.
Did she tell you what?
And so she would not talk to me about it then on the phone because I think that her husband was at home.
Mm.
But she said, can we meet at noon in Anaheim? And this was about 6 a.m. in the morning. She said, can we meet at noon in Anaheim at a little shop, called Coco's, at a restaurant? And I said, absolutely. Now, I didn't even have a clue how I was going to get to Coco's at this time in the morning, with this conversation. I did not, but I told her I'd get there. I'd be there. Now, if I was able to come from Texas all the way to California with $4 to my name that I gave away, I
You gonna make
promise
it
you,
to
I
Coco's?
promise you, I would get to Coco's. Okay.
But now this is at a time where you don't even like remember. This is before
No, there's no
GPS, cell
Uber. There's
phones.
no Uber, honey. No
Like
Uber.
you gotta know which Cocos to go to. There's no
Oh, no,
MapQuest.
no. But guess what, though? This is how God works.
No.
Because all this he navigated for me,
All
every
right.
bit of it. I'm telling you, because there was a lot of prayers,
Mm.
a lot of begging him, seriously, out of
Mhm.
no play at all.
Mhm.
The one thing my mother gave me is she did teach me how to pray. And I prayed all the time as a child. You know how innocent children are, and you listen to their prayers. You listen to your own children's prayers, don't you? And
Mhm.
the things they say, they mean that.
Mhm. Mhm.
They do.
Mhm.
And we can look back at that and we think, wow, what they were thinking about. They
Mhm.
actually said that. We can learn from a child's prayer.
Right. Right.
But my prayers would be that. And I'm sharing with you right now, son, that God knew the timings in my life to open up those doors.
Mhm.
And my parents, my mom and dad, that did not even know that I came to the state of California, much less right there in La
They were
Sierra.
living. Oh, backtracking. They were
That
living there at the time.
yes, they
They
were
moved
living in
back. They had moved
Temecula.
back.
They were
Yeah, they moved back to California.
yes, they were already
Mhm.
living. They were back in California. They were living in Temecula, but they found out I was in the city. And I think now, at the time, I don't even remember how it all happened, but my girlfriend probably called them and let them know that I'm here visiting. And they rang the doorbell.
Oh
And I
wow.
to the door, it was my mom and my dad. And I just gave a big hug and I said, guess what? I found her.
Mm.
My dad and my mom sat down and my dad said, where? And I
Down the
told him,
street.
and I said, listen, we have to meet her at Anaheim by noon. And my mom said, where, let me, well, I told her I had something to wear because that's the first thing she asked, like, what are you going to wear? Whatever. And she goes, you go ahead and get ready. I'll iron your dress. I'll never forget that.
Mm.
And so we headed to Anaheim from La Sierra.
Now,
We ended up in
heading that
Anaheim.
direction, were there nerves? Was there anticipation? Was it like,
Yes,
oh, I can only imagine, like, oh man, I'm about to meet someone I
asking
don't even know. This
questions
is a stranger.
and yeah, asking questions. My mom was trying to remember what she looked like,
Mm.
and she knew that she had promised her this would never happen. My mom had promised, Maggie had asked her to promise that this would never happen. And my mom was just, it was a lot of, it was kind of silent, not
Hmm.
a whole lot of talking, just kind of silent because my parents aren't big on a whole lot of, talking. But there was a lot of, there was silence, but they were eager, they were
Hmm.
anxious, and they were happy for me. They were
Okay.
happy for me because they knew it had been such a drive in my life.
Hmm. Now, what
It
year was
it
this?
literally, I'm sorry, son. It just to say this, it literally routed my life
Mhm.
because I couldn't concentrate on my own personal life till I found her.
Right. Now, but
And
what
in
year was this
between
though?
1987.
Okay.
So in 1987. So when we got to Anaheim and we got to Coke, because my dad always was great with a map.
Hmm.
So we went straight to the restaurant and we went in because I wanted to get there early enough that we would already be seated to watch her arrive, to watch her walk in. Now, my mom never remembered what she looked like. When I would go and ask her, tell me what she looked like. Can you remember what she looked like? And every now and then, my dad, as I was growing older, he would say, you're starting to look like your mom, your real mother. And so I would ask my mom from time to time. Well, anyway, so we go and we're seated, we're in a booth, and I'm sitting next to my dad, and my mom is sitting across from me. And my mom all of a sudden says, and my dad and I are talking, we're having a conversation, all of us. Then my mom just says, oh, she's here. And I looked at my mom, I said, how do you know? You don't even know what she looks like.
Right.
But it just by her seeing her, it came
It
back to her.
registered.
I think my mom had tried to block that out.
Okay. Okay.
I think that was her way of coping, to just block that part of that out of her life. She didn't really, because she was not one that wanted to talk to me about her, but
Okay.
my dad would.
Okay.
So anyway, my mom got up to go meet her, and I was sitting in a booth, and I was looking at my dad like this direction, and he was telling me actually when he first met his biological mother when he was 16. And then
Mm.
all of a sudden, my mom had left and went around to go meet her in the entryway, and then of the restaurant. But I was looking at my dad, and then all of a sudden I went back like that, and he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I just saw her."
Mm.
And he said, "How do you know?" I said, "Well, I just saw me." It
Wow.
was it was the most wildest thing ever, son. It was the most wildest thing. So she sat down, but first she did try to leave the restaurant. My mother had just grabbed her arm, and she said, "If you leave, she'll come to your front door." And that's when Maggie reminded her, "Mary, you told me this would never happen." She said, "You have no idea who she is. I have no control of her."
Right. Oh, you're an adult too.
Exactly. She
Yeah.
said, "I would suggest, though, that you come and meet her. Else, if you don't want her to come any further, she's going to come to your front door. I promise you, she'll get to your front door." So Maggie came and sat down with me, and we sat there, and I held her hands, and we were there for about 30 minutes. And I asked my dad, I just said, "I'm ready to go."
And that's the only time you saw her
hmm
in
I
your
was
whole
ready
life.
for the visit to be over.
Mm. Why are we ready for it to be over?
It was too overwhelming.
I bet. Okay. I
It
can
was
see
very
that.
overwhelming, and I still feel it today. It was
Hmm.
very overwhelming. And I just, because number one, for her to actually say to me is that your father was dead to me, and
Hmm.
so were you.
Mm. Right.
To have prayed for somebody for as long as I had and wanted so much to meet her, to hear those words, it just stung.
Oh yeah. I mean, I can only imagine. Like
It just
you
stung.
searched forever. Well, for what? How old were you then?
I was 27.
So what? 20 years? 'Cause you found out when you were 7. So it took you 20 years, and then to
hmm
hear that, of course, it's going to be devastating. And it's like, okay, yeah, I'm done with this meeting because there's
Yeah.
nothing else really to say. You
No,
know.
I did ask for, do you have a picture of my sisters? Because back then people always kept pictures
Oh yeah, in the wallet. Yeah.
in the wallet.
Hmm.
And I said, "You happen to have pictures of my sisters?" And she pulled one out, and I looked at that photograph, and there was three of them, and I knew
Right.
about two, but I didn't know about the third one that existed.
Hmm.
So she gave that, told me I could have that. And so I took that with me when we left. And so she asked me, she said, do you forgive me? And I said, I forgave you a long time ago. And she said, you have his eyes and his forgiving heart.
Referring to your
So the
father.
only so
Hmm.
those are only two characteristics that I knew about him at the time,
Hmm.
until I went back and called Dolores Lahara. In between there, I'd also spoke to one sister that said, "Who are you?" and all these types of things. So this is a whole nother story. But at the end of the day, I will always be thankful and grateful that I took that mission and went on that journey, and that I found her. I would always tell any adoptee that, if they have that curiosity, it's well
Hmm.
worth it. Just don't have high expectations. I didn't have high expectations. I just never would have thought I would have heard something like that. I
Oh yeah.
understood the reason behind it. There were several different reasons, and some are positive, some are negative, for why she did what she did. But at the end of the day, I am truly blessed.
Right.
And I could not have what I have right now in the faith that I have had I
Hmm.
been raised with her,
Mm.
or raised even with my biological father.
Mm.
So I have strengths and weaknesses from both of them, because
Hmm.
fortunately I was able to meet both of them. So
Hmm.
I am privately and been with them long enough. My father I spent more time with, not physically, but through the phone for
Hmm.
10 years.
Mm.
So I had a lot of time talking with him and chatting and laughing, and our relationship was way different than my biological mother. Um, she did pass away. I met her in 87. She passed away in 93. I met my father, in biological father. I was like, I want to say I was 47, and I had him for 10 years. And he passed away in 2017, June of 2017.
Oh, okay.
And he was 87.
Right.
So, and they never married and all that type of thing. But if you are, if, for me to share what you had asked about going on, if you wanted to go on a journey to find your birth family, birth parents, birth sibling, whatever the case may be, I will always recommend it.
Hmm.
The outcome may not be what you are expecting or you want. Just don't have any expectations.
Right. Just
Just know
just know that you did your best effort to find out who they
exactly.
are.
Just exactly. All you're wanting to do, all I wanted to do. Now, I did want to have a relationship with the sisters, my siblings, because there was 5 in all, 2 on his side and 3 on her side. But that didn't happen either. So that's okay too.
Well,
But it
let's say
didn't.
it didn't happen. Let's say it hasn't happened yet. There's still time. I
Well,
mean, some of
that's
them are
true.
still alive.
But
I'm sure, aren't they?
right. I've only
Right.
lost one out of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
And we carried the same name. Both of us were named
Right.
Lisa.
Right.
So that was special to me too, but she passed away in 2020.
Hmm.
And but anyway, I do recommend it. So I feel like for anybody, if they have any question of the unknown, now some do not. I've met many adoptees that have no interest at all to meet their
Right.
birth.
And
But
that's within their right.
is that absolutely?
Yeah.
But I've met many that have, and many that have not had, that have not known where to start,
Hmm.
or they're they're afraid of the outcome or whatever the case may be. But for me, it was fulfilling for me. And there was closure in my life. And it was a jacket that I could finally take off.
Awesome. Awesome. So that wraps up our first. That's a big impact for. I mean, think about it. You've had to navigate your entire life through that of being
Mhm.
adopted. So then, of course, having children of your own, it's like, how could I'm? There's no way that you would be able to do that. Clearly,
No,
you raise all your kids.
that's why I'm
So
so protective of you guys and the loyalty and protection.
you ain't got to be protective anymore.
Yeah. No, I mean, but I enjoy at you're 41, son. I still enjoy every minute I get with you. And
Thanks.
the most,
Some of them are more difficult than others.
oh,
I'll get
we
on your
get right
nerves.
through it though. We get right through it. We do. We get right through it. And I wouldn't change a thing. The only thing I would change if I had the opportunity to change is my actions and a few of my choices. But outside of that, my a few of my choices that I have often thought I wish I'd changed. I wouldn't have you. I wouldn't have Noah. I would not have Lace, and I would not
Well,
have Dee.
hold on. We're gonna get to those. Hold on.
Yeah.
Pause. Relax. Hold
Okay.
on. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, that was awesome. That first moment, and then just the detail that you gave us in your journey to meet your biological mother or birth mother, as you say. So let's move on. So what is yours? Like, think about it. All right, let's navigate through your life. You had your adoption, and then you moved to Keene, and then you decided to have children. So what's next? What's next for you? What was the next
Notice,
impactful moment?
not deciding.
I mean, we all decide to have kids. You act. You decided to have.
Well, you you were a big impact in my life. I believe that you saved me, son.
Oh, wow.
And I do. You were the most amazing love that I could give and that I received with my son, with my
Mhm.
child. And
Well, not
I
to cut
knew,
you off, that goes with Denzel. I was watching the Denzel Washington video, and he was talking about a mother, and it was like a mother's the first real love is a
mhm.
mother's love for her son. Like that's her first real love, or her children, and
Oh,
then a
absolutely.
son's first love is of his mother.
I could
Yeah.
not leave you. I could
Mhm.
not let anybody babysit you. You were with me. I loved you. And there just was no separation. None. You were just, from the day I looked at you, I knew I was a mom, and I just took care of you. And to think
Mhm.
about it, I was only 19,
Right.
but I
Right.
knew, I knew it was just in me. And I could not imagine that somebody could give a child away.
Right.
It was
Right.
so hard for me to understand, I could not understand that.
Hmm.
And so, but yes, and then here I have Noah 14 months later.
Hmm.
Noah arrives, and you guys were, that was my whole, everything was focused on the two of you,
Right.
everything about my
Okay.
life. And so that was very impactful to be so very young and to have two little boys and be a mom. And the relationship that I had with your father was, uh,
We say it wasn't the best.
it was challenging.
Okay. Challenge is a good word.
There's challenge.
Okay. Fair.
So, yeah. But I want to say this.
Hmm.
He was an amazing provider.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so there was not anything that you guys ever needed. He was present in the same home. Our relationship was challenging.
Right. Right. It's more the adults who
Yes.
have the
So,
challenges.
right.
Mainly, it wasn't. Unfortunately, a lot of times, the adults probably should never have stepped past the friendship barrier. This just for people in general. But then
Mhm.
when kids come to play, it has an effect on the kids because things aren't working out with the adults. And then
Right.
ultimately, though, adults get over a lot of things, but then kids have to deal with them. But then that's just the cost of sometimes our choices.
Right. We were
Mhm.
very young. I
Yeah.
was
Oh yeah.
19, he was 23.
Yeah. I couldn't
And
imagine like wanting to like be with someone so serious at that age.
right.
Yeah.
And so we had never married. We
Mhm.
never married. So all those things fell into what helped with complications.
Right. Right. So then we ended up with 4 kids. So we'll sum all of us up as an impactful moment instead of each one of us being born.
Right. Exactly.
So you had
Exactly.
my other brother, Melvin, what everybody calls him D, in '88. And then you have my sister
90.
in 1990.
Hmm.
So 4 kids. Great
Hmm.
job, Mom. You have 4 college
Thank you.
graduates. So I got to give you
Yes, I
props for
do.
that. I got to give you props to that.
Thank you.
I tell people that all the time. I'm like, man, because like, especially, I work in education and I always share with kids, like, it's not what your parents do. If your parents aren't educated with a degree or high school diplomas, it doesn't matter. You can still do it. I'm a walking testimony of it. I
Thank you.
remember, as our motto is my school system is you need to go to college or college for all and all that kind of stuff. I'm a walking billboard of that from a standpoint of like at a young age, I knew I had to go to college, even though I knew what I was doing, how to get there. And clearly neither one of us did on how to fill out information and all that. But it was something that was the expectation was there for you set that expectation for all of us. And so of course we all did graduate college. So big ups to you. Good job. You did it.
Thank you.
All right. So then what else? Give me some more. We had 3. So what else you got?
Um, well, there's other things. I mean,
Mhm.
far as that were impactful moments in my life that made changes. Some are good, some are bad.
Well, focus on the
Uh,
good.
well, I mean, the what you just said, that your college graduates, all four
Mhm.
of you walking across the stage,
Mhm.
graduating from college, and to travel there. You graduated from Oakwood University, and seeing that happen, and turn right around the following that evening, that night or early morning, to chase up to Boone, North Carolina, to watch Noah walk across the stage.
That
And
was
then
an exhausting weekend.
it was, but I mean, it was so memorable. And it was, we actually were falling asleep at Noah's
Yeah.
until it was time for him to walk out. It was terrible. We were so tired. But at the end of the day, though, I mean, I look at that, and you guys did it.
Right. Right.
And a mom can't be prouder of that, especially with the lack of education that I have.
Mhm.
I just knew, I didn't
Mhm.
know how you were going to get there, but you were going to get across that stage.
Mhm.
And I look back now, and I didn't even think of it at that time, that Jermaine or Noah or Lace or Dee could just say, you know what, forget this. You're not in charge of my life, and I'm not. You know what, I'm going to go on and go to work. I never thought of it that way. I just knew that you would. And I'm shocked because you guys actually did.
Well, I think
You
that because I don't think we ever had a conversation growing up about anything outside of you going to college. So I think that became like the norm, even though you hadn't did it. So I think growing up, it became a norm, like a motto of the house, basically. That like, yeah, you graduate in high school, you go to college. So it wasn't even a thought. Like I tell people, I've never thought to join the military, but those who have served, that's awesome for them. But I've never thought to join the military. I never thought when I graduated high school that I was going to go work construction or like get a job at Walmart. Like that was just not something I actually thought about. It was always like, well, when you finish school, you got to go to college. And then luckily, we met some friends whose parents had that same expectation. Even if
right,
they were
right,
educated, they had the same
right.
expectation for their kids, which then made it easier for us to attain because it was like, hey, I mean, I guess, is what people just do is
Hmm.
you get out of high school and you go to college. So it
No,
wasn't something that
exactly.
was foreign, really. It's just the expectations you had set for so long that it became our norm. Yeah.
Right.
So good job for
I
them.
just didn't see it any other way. I didn't see it any other way. I just did not think that there would be success in your life if you went
Mhm.
another route.
Well, I
And
mean, oh yeah, because education is so valuable. Um, and I get it. A lot of people, it is just a piece of paper. It says you're able to complete X amount of hours at a university, but it says you have some like some grit about yourself to complete it because it is hard to do. And
mhm,
it just says you're trainable to do a job. So, it's very important to have, a college degree. And it's just, like I said, I mean, I could say it all day. You set the norm. So it made it very easy to actually do.
right.
When I graduated high school, I didn't think of like, I'm serious. I didn't think, man, what do I want to do next? It's
Oh
just like,
no,
all
there
right, where are we
was.
going
I
to
didn't
school?
even.
Like,
I
where,
didn't even.
where, where am I going to school? That was just the next thought was, all right, school's next. Where am I going to go? And then, of course, I stayed in Keene for the first couple of years, and then I moved on to Arkansas. And then I finished over at Oakwood, which was phenomenal. I actually love Oakwood.
No, I know. Isn't that fun?
Mm.
Um, but that was your decision even to stay in Keene because you had other
Right.
offers
Oh
for
yeah.
different
Oh
things,
yeah. Hmm.
and but you wanted to stay. You wanted to move from the home, but stay in because I did always encourage that my children go off to college
Hmm.
and be on a campus and
Hmm.
have the college life. Be in a university where you are walking across a campus and going to class with a backpack on. I mean,
I carry a backpack.
yeah, I just had that vision in my mind all the time that my kids would be at college and they would, have a backpack on and going to their classes. And, that's what I saw. And I had the opportunity to visit each one of you and at your universities and walk around the campus. When you went to Arkadelphia,
Hmm.
when went to and then when you went to Oakwood, I didn't get to get there as often. I only made it there maybe to graduation, and I think I only made it for graduation. And I went twice. What were they? What? Oh, it was another graduation. So I went to two different graduations
Hmm.
at Oakwood University, and that's the
Hmm.
only time that I could make it there because of my life, my schedule, my working financially was tough to get there.
Right. Right. But that's
But
all understandable.
we were able to talk on the phone. But I knew you're in good hands. I knew you were safe. I knew you were okay.
Right. Right.
And but that's very impactful for me to watch from high school graduations to college graduations, especially the university. And so I have three that have graduated in their 4-year degree, and then I have Melvin D has a master's degree, which
Hmm.
I'm very proud of him is continuing on. But each one of you, even in your own choices of direction of life that you have went, I've had both of you to play overseas in the passion in your life, which was basketball, and to be able to travel the world and playing the game and enjoying that part of your life. You could say that you did it, especially when you and Noah both were in Mexico and you could kind of play against each other.
Oh
That was
yeah.
that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Um,
That was fantastic. I remember
Hmm.
the first time I played against him, I had like a breakdown after the game. It was actually really embarrassing.
You did. You
But it
did. We
was
actually have photographs of it. You
yeah,
did.
thanks. Yeah, it was
Hmm. You did.
it's one of those moments where you like you look around the arena or
Mhm.
there's ours the gym wasn't that big. But it's like, wow, man, actually we freaking did
Mhm.
this. Like we two dudes from a real small town.
Right.
Um
Impactful moment in your life.
oh yeah. Playing
Yeah.
ball was
Right.
yeah, it was
But it
great.
was prayers. That was prayers. It was many prayers from different people. It's a village that takes care of children. And as you grew up, there's so many prayers placed on you and each one of my children, different people that you met through different universities that you
Mhm.
went to, your childhood. These people that have been in your life have prayed for some of the many things that you have wanted, and you accomplished them. And when you were able to accomplish the things that you've wanted, those are impactful moments in my life because you made it on a dream of
Oh,
your own.
right. I see. Oh yeah.
So to see you and Noah play,
Mhm.
and for Noah to be in England and Germany and all the different places that he went and traveled and called home and saw a beach for the first time,
Yeah, I still
saw a
don't
beach
like
for the
go to the
first time.
beach that much.
Exactly. Those are, I've seen life through your eyes. I've seen life through Noah's eyes. I've seen life through Dee's eyes. I've seen life through Lace's eyes, because each one of you have done so much more than what I've done in
Well, we've
certain
done more in
parts of
different
your life.
ways. Yeah, done
Yes,
more
in
in different
different ways.
ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I've learned, and by watching and being a part of things that have gone
Mhm,
on in your life that have been great moments for you, they
mhm.
have been unbelievable moments for me.
Oh yeah, I could see that. I mean,
Mhm.
because you can see the joy in a lot of those in those moments. You know, you see the
Absolutely.
joy in the parent, but that's good parenting. You know,
Right.
it's
And
like
then your weddings.
you get in a point in your life where you live not through your kids, because that's like to me bad parents do. They live through their kids. They live like vicariously through them, but
Mhm.
you live within the moments of their house. I mean, not their house, their happiness. And
No,
so you're
absolutely.
very happy when they're happy. So it's like if
Absolutely.
you get married and it's like the right person, I guess, then it's like, wow, this is amazing. You're happy. So that's a moment for you to share, but also be very excited about. You know, or the
Mhm,
birth of
absolutely.
children, and once you're,
Yes, my grandchildren.
the
My
birth of children,
grandchildren.
moments like that are the ones that allow you to appreciate the fruits of your labor. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
which is
Yeah.
great. It's cool because then it's like, okay, I can sit back a little bit and relax, knowing that my kids have done knowing that you did a great job with your kids, because then their lives are more I gotta use the word cushy with my daughter one time. I was like, man, you got such a cushy life. And it's a good thing, but then it was like a mean thing to say to her, because it's like it's not her fault that her life is cushy, and it wasn't my fault that my life wasn't cushy. So don't blame her for it. So it's like for you get to sit back and then just observe, like, okay, wow, yeah, I did a good job. Because if you don't do the job that you did, then clearly we're not going to have the lives that we have now, which
Right.
are relatively easy compared. You know what I mean?
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, even in the midst of my life, there's choices that I made, son, that I could have literally stayed in a relationship that I would have never struggled. I would have never had to know what it was. I would have never had to see a struggle. And I could have raised you and Noah in that relationship. The outcome would have not been the same. But a choice that I made and moved on, and then I made another choice. That choice probably was not one of my best choices. But I do have from that, I have two incredible children from that relationship,
Right, right,
from the
right.
relationship I am still in,
Yeah.
that God has continued to, keep us together as a family. But we have taken a long
Endured.
journey together, a long journey together. But at the end of the day, he's still here
Yeah, yeah.
and we're
Well, that
still
shows
here and we're
commitment.
still moving on.
That shows commitment. You know, that does.
Absolutely.
It shows. I'm like, woo! It shows commitment. I mean, when you could be married with somebody for so long and you've been married so long, you forget your anniversary. Celebrate the wrong day for like 5 years.
Mhm. But I have Jermaine and I have Lace and Dee, And I mean, so there's times you can, in life, I think you can sit back and totally complain about your life.
Right.
And you can totally say what I could have, should have done. But you know what? I'm okay with
Mhm.
me. I'm okay.
You just have to live with your choices, and then no one makes the best choice every time. So whatever choice you make, just make the best of the choice. You
Right.
understand what I'm trying to say? It's like, okay,
Yes.
I made this mistake. Let me make the best of this while I can. And because that's
Right.
how you have to live with it. As long as it's not like life threatening or anything like that. It's like, okay, I can get through this. This wasn't the
Absolutely.
best idea, but let's make it the best that I can so I could be happy. Because in the day, you just want to be happy, you know, and whatever makes somebody happy, just make sure it's fulfilling. You know what I mean?
Right. So the other impactful things in my life outside of all of that, I mean, I think just my own journey, with my employments, um, finding my way in the
Mhm.
different businesses that I've been a part of, and what I do now, and what I have in my future. So I'm always reinventing myself and creating, something more. I don't plan to retire. I enjoy living. Uh, so I just think that your happiness depends on you,
Okay.
on yourself, because you can blame anything and everything. You can always wish and want someplace else, but your happiness in this lifetime is about how you're going to create that.
Right.
And
Okay.
I feel that through it all, with everything that I've been through, I am happy.
Well, good. I mean, that's a good thing. I
I'm
mean,
happy.
again, it's it's a great way of looking at things because you just have to find a space. There's no reason to live this however many years we get on this earth, no matter what choices we make, being miserable. I mean, that just sucks. Like if you get 90 years of your life and you make a choice at 30, it wasn't the
Hmm.
best, and you just live about it and relive it and don't get over it. Like, good Lord, like
Hmm.
I have somebody that I know who just it's like they relive
Every
something that
day.
happened like 10 years ago.
Yes.
I'm like, yo, what the heck? Are you not over that yet? Shut up.
No, you want to avoid them.
It's
You actually
okay.
want to avoid them. You want to
Yeah.
avoid
Or
them.
even if you like your life is like I tell my students, if you run into a high school classmate 10 years from now, 5 years from now, and all they're talking about is high school, their life sucks. They haven't lived yet. Or they're living because their life is like, again, the highest moment of their life was, for me, it'd been like 20 years ago. I was in high school over 20 years ago. So it's like, if I run into somebody and we're talking about, varsity basketball team from 1998, a game against Godly, and I'm like, dude, I don't even remember the game. Only because I've done other things in my life that allowed me to have happiness. And my happiness didn't stop in 98 because of the choices that I made. So that's how we all have to look at it. Like
Hmm.
just move forward and grow and have fun.
Absolutely.
Live with your choices and then try to, pray and make better choices the next time.
Right.
And then give the advice to the next group coming up so they don't have the same pitfalls that you might have had, or that
Right.
like I share with my students, like, hey, avoid this, look at it like this, think of it like this, talk about, think of, investing your money, whatever it may be, so they don't get started a little bit later in life. So just pay it forward to the next group coming up, and then find a way to be happy, because it's a long journey on this earth if you're just miserable, and it just sucks, and you'll bring
No,
everybody else down around you. And
no,
then nobody's going to want to
absolutely.
be around you.
No, but every day's a new day. You just
True.
start over,
True. That's
you
true.
know? But what's another question, son? Before we
Well,
have to shut it down?
I'm gonna finish with this. I'm gonna
Okay.
do a final four. I'm a basketball guy,
Okay.
and the final
I
four
know it. I know
is
you
is
are.
is how I'm gonna finish each one. Well, first, I'll say again, Happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
Great mom, always
Thank you.
been. Overbearing sometimes. But
Not
like,
me.
um, uh, I think. in the way that you, like I always say, you don't know the outcome of another way of dealing with things, and you never will, because you can't go backwards. So it's
Right.
like whatever mechanism that you use to get the end result, it worked. Now it might have sounded, to others it was like overbearing, like, man, you're mean to your kids, or man, you're strict on your boys. Good Lord. But at the
Oh,
end
we
of the
don't want to go
day,
down that road.
at the end of the day, it actually worked. So it has to be, you have to take the good points of it and keep those. And then some of the things that say didn't work as well, then get rid of those, but keep all the good ones, and then just shift the ones that didn't work as well. But my final four. So again, happy Mother's Day. But my final four, I'm going to ask everybody the exact same questions. But you're my first interview, so and make it as short as you want, but not too lengthy, because I want to just quick. All right. Do you have
Okay.
any question number one? Do you have any regrets?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to share, or just say yes?
Yeah. My lack of education. That's
Okay.
my biggest regret.
Why is
Lack
that?
of education.
Mhm.
Because I missed all that. I missed being on someone's college university. I missed all.
Like living on campus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
'cause
missed
you
all.
can go get
Just
the you
having
go.
an education,
Mhm.
having an education. I would like to have it on paper.
I mean, you could still do
Yes.
that, but you're not going to go live in the dorm.
No, I would have loved to have lived in I would have loved the whole campus life. I would have loved to finish high school. I would have loved to finish college. I would have loved to continue and went on and master's degree and the next degree. And I would have loved to have been able to apply myself that way. That if I could have just paid attention,
Mhm.
there was
So if you
just some
told, so
other
basically,
driving.
you would have told your 21-year-old self to go to college.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
But the only
Mhm.
difference is once again, and that would be because I would have never had, I would have never had you. But if
We could have
I
did it in the midst of having your
exactly.
kids, but that's hard.
So
But yeah,
even that, yes, son, even
mhm.
that. I wish that I had went on and finished high school and I am in a process of high school right now. I just can't get past science.
I mean, let's knock it
And
out. I mean, it's just science.
I need somebody to do it for me.
Oh, what, mom?
Okay. And you know what? So I can move on. I really like to be a chaplain, but I mean, yes, I
A
cannot
chaplain
get
for a
past
university
science.
or a church?
Leilani could do my science for me.
Yeah,
I
she's
mean,
sharp, but that's your job. We're not
I
here to
can't
teach.
even get past science. It's terrible.
Oh wow.
But
All right, well,
anyway,
let's work on that getting past science, and let's get that degree so you can walk across the stage and all your grandkids can show up, and your kids. That'd be actually pretty cool.
absolutely. I just want my high school diploma.
Well,
And
let's
I would
start
at
there.
least no, not just there. I want to go on
Right.
with
Would you
with
walk across the
courses.
stage? Would you ask if you could
Absolutely, I would
for a
with
high
all
school
the
diploma?
18-year-old, or yeah, I would with them too. How exciting would that be? I would be so excited. I
I
would be
bet.
so excited. Yes, so
You tell
that's
all
one
the
regret.
18-year-olds,
So
so
what's
I'm getting my high school diploma, and all my kids have their degrees. All
oh
right,
well,
question number
yes,
two. The best
yes.
advice you've ever received.
The best advice I'd ever received.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, this is the true advice that there's two. Can I do two?
That's fine.
Okay. The first advice that I ever received, I should just say, was advice from my mom that
Mhm.
was a prayer warrior.
Mm.
And she just had that faith. And so, whatever she ever talked to me about, whatever it was, she just said, put it in prayer. That's
Mm.
the biggest advice on that part of my life that has followed me, that has kept me on a straight and narrow, was put it in prayer.
Okay.
The other advice that I have that I got from my biological father is that keep moving around else you're killing the grass. And in that he was saying is just keep it moving.
Mhm.
Keep it moving. Keep your life moving. You don't have time for that over here. If there's a complaint going on or illness or whatever, you don't have time for that. You just keep it moving. And he would share that with me, because sometimes when he would call me and I was at my job, and I would go to start sharing with him that, well, I'm having a difficult time today about something, he would say, you don't have time for that. Keep it moving.
Mm.
And I still hear him today.
Wow, that's
When
fantastic.
when there's a negative of
Hmm.
something that's kind of starting to attack me about
Hmm.
something, I just hear him say, you don't have time for that. Keep it moving.
Awesome. All
Hmm.
right. Question number 3.
Okay.
How do you want to be remembered?
Happy,
Just as a happy person?
happy,
Okay.
loving, kind, faithful, loyal, trustworthy.
Kind.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. Nice.
Mhm.
Okay. And the last one, pretty easy. What's your favorite book?
What's my favorite book?
Everybody's got a favorite book. What's yours?
Well, I have my most favorite book, believe it or not. And I know you're going to laugh, son, but it is the Bible.
I knew that. I mean, you wrote all in mine.
Yeah. Now that's my most favorite book. I
Yeah,
do
that's
love the
a
Bible.
book. That's 66 books. So, what's your favorite book in the Bible then?
Proverbs right now.
Okay.
I
Okay.
live in Proverbs right now. I have
Okay.
to. Yeah, I have to. And then I better start learning about Revelation.
It might be coming to an end.
Yeah, but no, Proverbs. I love Psalms. It's like
Okay.
poetry to me. I
Right.
do love Psalms. So when I want something soothing, and that I want something that is just going to take me to a space of just hearing him, like you're just sitting beside like an ocean.
Mm.
It's quiet, but you hear the waves, and you're just reading something and it's smooth like that. Psalms is that for me.
Okay.
But if I want it, but my Proverbs that I read every day is teaching me. And I have to stay on Proverbs because it is a guidance for my life.
Mm.
So that's right now one of my most favorite books. And then of course I love reading anyway. So I like to get into whether it's a autobiography of somebody, or is that the right word? Autobiography?
Yes, it is.
Yes. What is the other when they're still living?
Well, autobiographies, I believe, is written by the person, and then a biography is written. Somebody wrote about the
Yes.
person.
Okay. I like both. I like both.
Okay.
But mostly by the person. I like reading what the person has wrote about themselves.
Right. Right.
Okay. So those are my favorite books.
Okay.
So I've read about a lot of different people. So those are
Mm.
my favorite because you can learn from them.
True.
There's
True.
something you can
learn. I mean,
relate to.
oh yeah, you could. I mean, any biography or autobiography, you can learn a lot about yourself in things that somebody else had to overcome.
Right.
Or even look at your own life and say, "Hey, it's not that bad." Like, man, this like
Exactly.
if you read like Trevor Noah's book, you're like, "Good Lord, this dude's life sucked when he was in South Africa." Like,
Right.
it was terrible. So you get a
Right.
better appreciation maybe for your own life, um, that you might not have had if you hadn't read the book. You know what I
No,
mean?
no,
It
exactly.
gives you true inspiration. If you need it, it can give you real good inspiration. Like I read "Cry Like a Man" by Jason Wilson, and I mean, you're like, wow, the dude's grandfather was hung, his
Hmm.
mother was in an abusive relationship, his older brother was killed, his best friend had a heart attack at like 38, 39, around there, and he has navigated through all that and now mentors guys and boys, um, all over the country. I mean, it's phenomenal when you see all the tragedy that he had to endure, and then to find a way to be a man of. He's a very, 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 I won't say religious, but a spiritual guy. So it's like he's found a way to share his gift to others. And even for me, reading this book, it's like, wow, to somebody you can relate to, but you realize that, man, like I've had it rough. Man, I didn't have it rough as this guy did. And then to find that he still had some grit and persevered through it is actually phenomenal. So yeah,
Right.
biographies are also, I mean, they're just awesome.
Right. Like John
Mhm.
Lewis, I've just finished up with his book. And yeah, I mean, that was just like, it's something when, especially when you don't relate, you can't
Mm,
relate. So I can't relate to that life. I've
right,
never
right.
been black. I won't be
Mhm,
black. And so I've never be able to be able to relate to what even what my children endure,
mhm.
my grandchildren. So to read what he had to just to read what he has said just about his time, uh, in his journey in life
Mhm.
from just a child, and what created his passion to help his people. It's just, I think everybody should read about that life and what goes on right now today,
Yeah,
even
I
though it's,
agree.
I just think everybody should, so that everybody should read about different cultures and what they went through, whether it's, Jewish or, I mean, I just finished a documentary on uh, Netflix with the Holocaust.
Oh yeah, wow.
And I mean, to listen to that, it's
Mhm.
heartbreaking. But their window, even though there's still things that go on, to me, I think that the window's so much, I guess, wider in the from slavery and the abusiveness in the black culture. I think that
Right.
they've been treated a certain way for so very long,
Mhm.
for so very long. So it's just, these are the things that you learn later in reading, because there's a lot of things that are discussed and talked about, but when you actually read for your and
Well,
do
if you
your own
read the
research.
account, if you read into account of someone's life and they're
Mhm.
discussing it, then you get a more in depth view of,
Absolutely.
of what they actually had to endure. And then, say
Right.
in the case of John Lewis, as we wrap up, it's a lot of times people don't realize that it's not that long ago. In the case of
Exactly.
this guy is like he just passed a couple years ago now, or last year I think he passed away.
Last year.
And
Mhm.
you know when you talk to some people, unfortunately, they're talking to you as if um, a lot of things that happened, say 45 or like say 60 years ago, when before, like right after you were born, they talk as if it was uh, 200 years ago, and it wasn't. It actually happened within, like for me, it's my parent lifetime, so it's not that long ago. It's not, my great grandparents' lifetime, my great great grandparents' lifetime. It happened in, my parents' lifetime. I don't think
Mhm.
people grasp that sometimes. They think it's so long ago, which is unfortunate. But that's just the lens that some people look at things. So you just got to keep teaching, reaching, and educating, and that's it.
Absolutely.
But that's it, Mom.
All
We're gonna
right. Well,
wrap
thank
up.
you.
That was fun. Thank you
It
for your
was.
time.
Thank you
Great.
for
Thank you for
inviting me.
sharing. Thank you for sharing. It's been awesome hearing your life journey. I even learned something about you today I didn't know. So that was actually pretty
Oh, wow.
cool. Yeah, oh yeah, it was pretty cool. I didn't know
Okay.
you
Well,
only talked to your mom for 30 minutes.
yeah, only 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Now, I will say in present, while we
Oh
were
yeah, oh, yeah. That's what I
right
meant,
there,
like in person.
I did talk to her a few times throughout several years, by just asking her to share with her daughters about me. Had she gotten around to that, she always said that give her more time.
Mm,
And then there might be a question like, what was my biological father's name, full name? Things, a few questions like that, but she would answer. She just would not give any more information. She would not carry on the conversation, but she would
right,
answer my questions. She was kind. She wasn't mean to me. It's just you knew that she did not want anything to do with me.
right.
She
And
was
that's
she was I think it's because at this point she did not want her children to know that I existed.
right,
It was very embarrassing for her. It was, there was just a lot of pain there.
right.
And so she let her daughters know when one daughter finally did approach her and tell her that she had found out about me. And she said to her, well, if you want to talk to her, if you told her girls, if you guys want to talk to her, you go right ahead. but you'll be dead to me too.
Oh wow. Well,
So, but
I'm not gonna
anyway,
wrap up
that's
on a
how that
somber
was.
note, but good lord. So
Yeah.
let's
But
get
it's
back to
okay. But it's okay. But that was how it was,
right.
and it's okay. And you know what? I still, if I had it all over to do again, I would do it again. But it's okay.
With a few better choices.
No, I'm talking about I would have went to search for her.
Oh yeah, good for
Yeah,
you. Oh, that's
I'd have done
fantastic.
it again. Yeah.
Awesome.
So,
Well,
but
mom,
anyway, I love
been
you,
great.
son.
Love you
Thank
too.
you.
Have a
All
great Mother's
righty.
Day.
Keep it real.
Always till
Mhm.
I don't breathe. Bye now.
Keep it real. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that interview. The beginning of it was I was a little nervous because it's your mom. You want to ask the right questions. I've never interviewed someone, so I wanted to see and make sure I did a halfway decent job. So I hope I did. Um, and going forward, we'll be doing more interviews. Um, it just won't be about sports. I want to interview some people, but then tomorrow night I think I'll do another podcast on the NBA. We got to talk about the NBA, where I was wrong, where I was right. Have to admit when you're wrong, as far as the playoffs go. But as always, keep liking, keep subscribing, keep sharing, keep listening. Be blessed, and I'm out.